next group of items is the Find dining range by Find Memory Care. And what we've done is we've pieced these all together, but they're actually sold separately. You're going to see different item numbers for each individual item. Now, I'm really lucky to be joined by Anthony Cockcroft, who owns Find Memory Care, and he's going to talk to us about the product and also the history of it, because it's really interesting sometimes to find out where these items came from. Anthony, the Find dining range looks impressive, very, very nice. Can you tell us about it?
Sure. The dining range was a concept that came about some, oh crikey now, I keep saying 10 years, but it's probably nearer 15 years ago. The range came about having seen people in care facilities struggling to eat the food and manipulate the food around the plate. And we'd seen lots of contraptions and different types of plates and bowls with side extenders and wings and things that just made somebody stand out as different in a care facility, which is, to me, it's wrong. You should try and blend in as much. And some people feel really conspicuous by the fact that they're there with a bowl with different rings on it and side extenders and things. And they don't know where to start with it, and it's really quite confusing. And the whole object of this is to simplify the eating process. Without eating, obviously, people will start to go downhill. So nutrition is really, really important. So we took a look at this and we thought, how can we make something that is going to help people and also provide them with the dignity that they deserve when they're in a care facility, that's not going to make them stand out from anybody else, that's going to make them blend in and feel part of it. So we came up with, having whittled various pieces of wood prototypes. We took these around many care facilities. We're quite fortunate at Find. We provide and we service many of the big care groups and as well as the small independents. And we managed to take these products out and leave them with the care facility and say, look, try them out, see how people can manipulate them and get the feedback as to what's really important within the crockery range. So we identified initially with the bowl that people were struggling to hold the bowl. So for us, it wanted to be something that somebody could easily hold. We made the radiuses of the inside so that they were really smooth. So again, by taking the spoon, you could manipulate the food around.
Okay.
The colour was important. We chose blue and we chose yellow. The reason we chose blue was you don't get blue food. So if you can see the food, you can eat the food. That's half of the battle, if you can recognise the foods there. The yellow is a superb colour within dementia from the spectrum, as we're aware. And the idea with this was that you can manipulate the food. You can get the food, you can see it. If you can see it, you can eat it. If you can manipulate it, you can eat it. And that was the basic principle for it. But we decided to go with a material called melamine, which is, in this case, a really heavy version of melamine. This is as heavy as you can get. Some people associate melamine with picnic plates. It's nothing like that. This looks and feels like crockery.
But not as heavy as crockery.
It's not as heavy as crockery. The advantage of this is if it drops on the floor, it's not going to break as crockery would. It also retains the heat for longer. So if the food's warmer, people are more likely to complete the meal and therefore get the nutrition that they need. And all these factors just add into why and how our range came about. And this was the bowl. We created the plate with exactly the same features. So again, it's got the sides that help people manipulate the food round. It's easy to hold. It's a dignified item. The side plate that we have, again, complements the bowl. You can actually lay it out as a full fine dining, hence the fine dining range, should you want to. And again, for ease of storage, sits into place quite well in the cupboard, whether it's in the home environment or the care environment. The other item that we added to this was the mug. Again, we'd seen people struggling with the mug, the mugs that they're given in a care facility. This is a standard kind of mug, and you can feel that the weight, just by picking it up normally, the weight is off. Now, for me, it's not an issue. For you, it's not an issue. But for somebody with impaired strength or any issues that you could associate growing old with, really, this is quite a difficult cup to hold. And we'd also seen two-handled sippy cups, which aren't the most dignified things. They revert back to childhood. It reminds me of childhood, and you see toddlers with them. So we thought, what can we do to make it a more dignified experience? We're a creative bunch of people. We create things. We look at things that are needed, and we come up with solutions, and that's what we're about at Find. And we took this and we thought, well, why? The handle is really simple. We can do away with the other handle. We can remove that, which, again, even in this cup, it's not particularly well balanced at that point. But if you hold it there, the thumb sits perfectly well into there.
Yep. Makes sense.
The cup itself is made out of a material called Triton, which again doesn't conduct heat in the same way as porcelain or a standard crockery mug. So you don't get that same heat exposure. We've all been and picked up a cup and thought, well, that's hot. This one won't transfer the heat in the same way, so it retains the heat in the cup. Triton is unbelievably strong. You could hit this with a golf club, you could hit it with a baseball bat, it's not going to break. It's very, very strong. And when you've got that, if it goes over, it's not a problem. If it drops on the floor, it's not going to be a problem. You can manipulate it. And lastly, we came up with the lid. Now, the lid, again, we'd seen these spouted sippy cup things, which to us don't provide the dignity that people deserve in a care facility or at home. And we wanted something that made people feel part of everything. So we wanted something that didn't make people stand out as being different. So everybody in a care facility could have one of these cups. They're fine, they're perfectly normal. But we also wanted the lid that wasn't a sippy cup lid. And I'd looked at what people use, and I'd seen sales reps driving up and down in the car, and I thought, well, we can create something that works, that provides the fluid outlet, that if it goes over, it's not all going to go everywhere, it can quickly be picked up, but it's a much more dignified way, and it's a really easy way to take your drink. And that's the story of our mug.
Fantastic. So the fine dining range is absolutely amazing. The great thing about these is they are very durable, as Anthony said, and there's some other bits that you need to be aware of. Now, the cups are microwavable. Unfortunately, the plates are not. Now, why aren't they? Melamine, unfortunately, cannot go into a microwave, but what you need to realise is actually, should we be microwaving food anyway for a person who's elderly? What we need to remember that a microwave gives off uneven heat. So you'll get pockets of heat in places, but not in others. So ideally, all food for the elderly should be fresh. And the great news with this, compared to porcelain, is the fact that it will keep your food warmer longer. The second thing to think about is, how do we present a cup like this to someone who's used to a cup like this? And we find this challenge in care homes, and families talk to us when we do the dementia interpreters course. Often families will say that unfortunately their father doesn't want to drink from this, they drink from this. Or in a care home environment, that people who do drink from this end up hiding dirty cups in cupboards, etc. And that's because they're not allowed to use these. So what we always recommend, if you want to present something like this to someone, then all you do is you wrap it up, make it into a present. By giving it to the person as a present format, it's very unlikely they're going to refuse it. But if you do that, please always ensure that you buy one for yourself. When care homes have residents and then they have their staff drinking out of this, the residents are drinking out of this, and the person obviously would prefer this. No one ever bought these because they wanted them. It's a need. What staff should be doing is this. I always drink out of the same cup as the person's, basically mirror them, because by doing that, you're making these normal. Now, these items are sold separately, And you'll find each individual item on the website, and they can be with you within the next week and really start to make that food and that fluid intake so much better by having the right tools for the right job, for the right person, and also for the right condition. Thank you.